Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Fnatic and Alliance. This has been a long season going up to the playoffs here, but this is the first best-of-3 series to start off these playoffs, and I'm really interested to see how they turn out. Both teams really up there. Alliance actually just getting in under the wire, pretty much, with the last match that they played, qualifying them in slot number 3, actually. So they are ranked... it's seeded third up against Fnatic's number 2, and that's why we're seeing these two teams matched up here. But it's going to be an exciting matchup. These are two of the best teams by far in the European scene right now, and really couldn't think of a better opportunity. They're both full strength, they're both raring to go, and they're both willing to compete. This is a $10,000 prize pool, people, and they are all gunning for it right now. These next 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that's what's going to be all about for these 4 teams. Virtus Pro, of course, Team Liquid, Fnatic, and Alliance. So now going on into the first match here, would like to warmly welcome to the cast my good buddy Vikramon. How's it going, man?
Hey Blaze, it's playoff time, man. Playoff time. I'm so psyched for this. And we're starting with a doozy of a match. I mean, Fnatic and Alliance. Like you said, two of the strongest teams in the West, and they have some history, honestly. They've been going up against each other a number of times. In this tournament, they've actually matched up very early, so week 2, I think, so that's about 9 weeks ago now. Alliance took it 2-0, but since then they've faced each other several times with huge fireworks each time. Most recently, Fnatic actually beat Alliance 2-0 in WePlay. But then before that, we had, of course, the Star Ladder Grand Finals where Alliance took it 3-2. That was actually 2 games each because Alliance had the 1-game advantage from the winner's bracket. And in DreamHack, Alliance won 2-1. So it's an interesting dynamic. I feel like these two teams bring different strengths to the table. They're both very exciting to watch. They're both coming off important wins just today. They were both in the G1 qualifier stage. Fnatic, of course, disposing of Evil Geniuses pretty quickly, while Alliance really had just a knockdown, drag-out fight with Na'Vi. No smaller team than that, and of course Alliance taking that out 2-1. And here we are up in this draft, and already the teams going for each other's throats, picking heroes that sort of each other team might like to have.
Sure, yeah, back and forth. They kind of share a relatively similar style, but then they branch out when it comes to the mid to late game, whether one goes for a hard team fight, one goes for split push. Either way, they have their own fortes. Right now, Fnatic knew they had first pick. They let Lone Druid get through the draft, only to be picking up for Trixie themselves, rather than opting to leave it to Admiral Bulldog. Along with that, S4's, S4 and Hani's Batrider taken out, along with that No Tails Whisper IO. Is going to not be an option here. But yeah, a lot of great heroes slipping through nevertheless. Of course, I mentioned the Lone Druid, but along with that, the Keeper Light and the Chen, two great supports. And yeah, Lifestealer is very solid as well. I like the Bane to go along with that. Pretty much means that No Tail will be able to go on the Chen, and of course, along with that fly, will be running the Bane. And it'll make sure that they can't really go aggressive tri-lane, at least feel very good about it if they do.
Right. Now, these two heroes, Lifestealer, and actually 3 heroes I want to talk about, Lone Druid, Lifestealer, Chen. Obviously, Fnatic, of these two teams, are by far the more committed to pushing. We occasionally see Alliance going for sort of all-in push compositions, but they generally telegraph them quite early, and they're not actually tremendously successful with them historically. Of course, they famously failed an all-in hard push off a Lone Druid bear against Fnatic when Fnatic just shut it down with Earthshaker. But nonetheless, Fnatic locking up this Lone Druid early. Trixie is excellent at this hero, but of course you can't talk about Lone Druid in a game with Alliance without talking about Admiral Bulldog. What this pick also serves to do is take Admiral Bulldog off of his famous specialist hero. However, he's branched out a lot. He's actually excellent with Nature's Prophet, speaking of branches, haha. And so that's another very strong hero for him that they will be able to deny. One thing I was looking at and going into this draft is what would actually happen with Lifestealer. I thought that he might cop a first ban, but instead we see, because Fnatic spend their Lone Druid ban on him, Alliance pick it up for Loda. Loda plays a very good Lifestealer, but Era on Fnatic, Lifestealer is actually his best hero overall, I think. They win just a terrifyingly high percentage with that Lifestealer. And so Alliance takes that. And then there's also the Chen to contend with. This is going to be a series, Blaze, where we're going to see a lot of Chen. We might actually see him all 3 games, and depending on how the first 2 games go, I even think he might slip into the first ban pool. No Tail plays an amazing Chen, and Ake plays like top 3 Chen world, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely. I mean, it's just so back and forth. Both of them have that kind of similar heroes that they love to pick up. The Lone Druid and the Chen are big in contest, and honestly, the Nature's Prophet would have been one that Fnatic would have liked to run as well if they didn't have the Lone Druid, because of the global aspect and the push presence. Really, both teams have a lot. I think that Alliance have a little bit of an edge right now based on the fact they have the best counter push. Right now with the Illuminate, with the Wrath of Nature, that adds up pretty quickly to being able to force back lanes here. But yeah, beyond that, in this position, they still have a very, very open draft. Kind of rounding out their lanes, Fnatic has to decide on what kind of carry they want to run. Naturally, the Juggernaut would have been great, but of course that's banned out immediately. And from there, they have they want to go for something that's push-oriented, but can also dish out some solid damage to a Magic Immune Lifestealer. A Gyrocopter would probably be one of the better options, but we'll see if that one makes it through.
Gyro's definitely an option. I like this Juggernaut ban from Alliance. Juggernaut, a hero that is the combination with Lone Druid is so extremely strong. That would actually, when you have a Juggernaut Lone Druid push, Illuminate won't do much at all because the bear is going to tank it. It's going to get healed up in between Illuminates, and you're just going to be fine. Meanwhile, Fnatic, they're going to take, and I think their 5th ban will probably be a mid 2 most likely. They're just going straight for S4 heroes. We usually see Alliance drafting carries late. Whereas Fnatic drafts carries early, but because there's the fight over the Lifestealer, and because he's such a tier 1 hero that you want to lock in early, Alliance actually picked up Lotus Hero quite early in this draft relative to where they usually take him. This means that they didn't take S4's hero, which means Fnatic can focus on banning that out. Mid is one of the positions we have to watch in this matchup between Fnatic and Alliance. S4, and I don't think this is that controversial, is probably the most dependable best mid in Europe right now. Maybe in Europe and North America considered. Like, he is so extremely strong, and Fnatic have actually had some difficulty deciding who they want their primary mid to be. It was Hani for a while, then they switched to No-Tail, and now it's back to Hani with No-Tail acting as the number 4 support again. I like this. I think it's the more sort of dependable lineup for them. No-Tail and Fly have a little bit better support coordination than I think Hani and Fly had. But the flip side is, none of these players are really going to have a good time shutting down S4 alone. So you can see that because of that, Fnatic have actually expended 4.5 bans on S4 in this draft.
Yeah, it's pretty much very, very difficult here. They have to make sure that he doesn't have too many options on the table. Of course, Fnatic do have first pick as well. They get their pick of the litter as far as their mid-heroes go, and they can definitely make something happen there. They also aren't feeling very pressured about their carries. Yes, they did lose the Juggernaut, they did lose the Alchemist, but beyond that, they still have a very wide pool, and they get to kind of throw that in the mix as their number 5 pickup. Whereas Alliance have already slotted in the Lifestealer. Yes, you commonly do see a secondary core for the Lifestealer to supplement his damage, but nevertheless, it seems like that's going to be what Loda is picking up, and that means that they are going to have a lot less of their flexible lineup that they usually have.
And Bulldog, he can go right-click Nature's Prophet if necessary. Sure. In fact, if Fnatic start pushing and they want the counter push, so they want the Nature's Prophet in a different lane counter pushing, then they can do that. Anti-Mage comes out, so this is a choice that we probably will see again in this series as well. Both Fnatic and Alliance play this Anti-Mage. Loda plays an excellent one. Era plays a good one. And now what this does do is ease off the pushing pressure a little bit, but it also gives Fnatic a terrifying late game.
Yeah, I think that Fnatic's going for a surprise 5th pick, something very unorthodox, because there's no reason to pick up the Anti-Mage right now. Like I said, the carries, they've only seen 2 carry bans. Lifestealer's already been picked up. There's no way Alliance would run Anti-Mage and Lifestealer, so the only time to pick that up as a 4th would be if you want to semi-hide your 5th. Obviously, they had first pick, so they don't get a full reveal at the last second, but nevertheless, a pretty solid pickup there, and we'll have to see what Fnatic comes out next. Rubik, of course, being a straight hero to go with the Keeper Light, using the Telekinesis to make sure the Illuminate does as much damage as possible, and then from there you can spell steal things like the Fiend's Grip, like the Hand of God, and really sock it to enemies. Rubik also great at spell stealing Anti-Mage's Blink, and from there you just get so much mobility, you don't even need to buy a dagger sometimes.
Picking Rubik as a blinker is great. It's very interesting, and we still don't really have... so Fnatic have run the Lone Druid mid before, so that is an option if they want to go with a surprising last pick. But it's interesting that we haven't drafted any mids, and of course that is because there was a huge, lots of mids got taken out. We actually see Windrunner, so this is probably Windrunner mid. But S4 doesn't have that many options. They did also take out Storm Spirit because this is a hero that S4 doesn't really play, and Hani has been very good on Storm Spirit. I think actually Blaze Both of their EG games this morning, they ran Storm Spirit mid, I think.
Now,
So yeah, so it's definitely a pocket pick that Fnatic like. And so not a surprise that Alliance, even at the cost of removing yet another mid hero from the pool, actually take that out.
Sure.
I like this Windrunner. It's one of the better options remaining. And the question is, what do Alliance take for S4 here?
Yeah, that's a really, really difficult position. There's been so much taken out. I mean,
Wait. How about Templar Assassin?
It'd be alright, but I mean, it's not gonna... I don't know. It's great with Lifesteal. It's great with Nature's Prophet. You can burst down people in physical. You can take Roche so darn early. I like it, but she has her weaknesses. She needs a lot more room control or just to spam Bottle Crow. And then, of course, along those lines, she's also not going to be really shutting anybody down in mid. Like, generally speaking, you pick up a TA to go melee versus melee and just stomp heroes like Magnus, who can't deal with her refraction. And in this sense, you're not really getting that added benefit to the lane control.
You probably won't crush the Windrunner lane, that's for sure. But... I don't know. I mean, the Chen and Bane could be in trouble if the TA starts roaming. She's excellent with Lifestealer. Haha, yes!
Nice call.
Alright, so I am going to open up a notepad file here and put Vic 1, Blaze 0, and we'll keep going throughout the playoffs.
Alright then, yeah.
I mean, S4 used to play TA a lot, dude. When TA was like the premier mid hero before the refraction change and before people started putting Darkseer mid to counter her, S4 played TA almost non-stop. That's actually when people first started saying, like, holy shit, S4 is really good. Before that, he wasn't actually, only among, you know, sort of grognards who know the scene, was like, oh, like, S4 is a really good player. But that's when everybody was like, oh, S4 is a really good player.
Exactly. So
yeah.
That potential, that opportunity for him to go out and just try to bring in that secondary source of damage, it means that Nature's Prophet can go for more utility-type pickups. It means that, of course, Admirable Log, if he wants to, can go Shadow Blade or a Desolator or something random, but more often you're just going to see those items picked up by Loda and S4, and from there, the right-click damage will be very sufficient. The reason that I do really like this TA pickup is that since they're up against the Anti-Mage, he's generally really good at surviving against magic damage, but physical, he's just as squishy as anybody else. I mean, of course, he's agility, but nevertheless, I really think that they're going to be able to sock it to him with some great mild tricks.
Absolutely. I mean, he's agility, but his agility gain, considering his Nagi carry, is actually not tremendous. He doesn't get that much armor unless he builds either armor items. So recently we've seen this Vladimir's anti-mage much more common, because you build the Tranquils, you disassemble the Tranquils, and you use the stuff from the Tranquils to make the Vlads. That gives some armor. Then later on when he builds Agi items like Manta Style, eventually Butterfly, he'll have a lot more armor. But until then... this TA, yeah, she could chomp down on that anti-mage. And I like these lineups because I feel like in Game 1 we already have a microcosm of what I think this series really means. Because these are teams that, even though they're both very strong and they win a lot, they have really different strengths. And what I would say is that Fnatic, the advantage of Fnatic is they always have a coherent plan. Like, they always have a plan for how they want to win the game, and they follow it to the letter. They always work as a unit. I think among all the Western teams, Fnatic are the most... well put together as a team of 5. They've played with each other for a while, in Han, then in the long wilderness that they suffered when they first moved into Dota 2 and were just losing all the frickin' time, and then all the way through the upswing. They've never changed rosters. They've primarily played with these 5. Fly, of course, he has been substituted a little bit because he's had, you know, army service, that sort of thing. But they work as a unit, and they play from behind extremely well.
Sure.
Alliance... it's a little different. It's not so much that they play as a coherent group of 5, although in their best wins they absolutely do. But it's star power. Loda, when he's on form, is an incredible carry. S4 is an insane mid. And one thing that we have to watch for Alliance is also the support pair. In my opinion, Egg and Manake are the most impressive support pair I've been watching lately.
Sure enough.
We might get a first blood attempt, though.
Yeah.
No, never mind.
No, I mean, they're putting pressure out, but S4 has that refraction up and active already. He's going to be able to tank it up, no problem at all. What's more interesting, in my opinion, is the movement from Admiral Bulldog's Spear Bear. As always, he starts off the match by manipulating the creep aggro as much as possible to stack them up. Once he gets all these creeps stacked up together, he's going to be guaranteeing the experience will fall on his Tier 1 tower, which, of course, is exactly what he wants. And along with that, there's only one support harassing it right now, so it's still sitting on a good half HP. This is in part due to the fact that he's just so good at microing it, and another big aspect of the fact that they didn't get to pick the Bane. The Bane was third picked by Fnatic, and they can't lock it down. We do see open wounds, so the bear will fall. The bounty should go to Loda here, presumably. No, he does not get the last right click, but nevertheless, Trixie will be able to resummon that bear in just a little bit here, and he's going to get a ton of experience as a result. We're going to see all these creep waves just mashing down on the tower very shortly.
Taking a ton of damage, by the way, in between those refraction ticks. Eggum, EGM is actually primarily spending time in mid here, but Hani's doing a very good job of harassing this TA so far.
Yeah, actually, kind of back and forth. EGM is doing a little bit of dual lane action as he roams about, but one thing that's good for S4 is he's already raring to go, has Captain Bamboo at the ready to bottle Crow away, and from there, S4 is not going to have to worry about so much about the 2-minute rune. He's going to guarantee a little bit of extra sustainability with the bottle filled up from the fountain directly, and that means that he can spam out refraction. He can still survive, and from there, once he starts actually getting some good levels and refraction becomes more and more efficient of a skill, it's going to make it so that he can just completely obliterate the lane. And yeah, there I have my camera on that there. Lots of creeps. Trixie tanking it up. Yeah. This is his second bear, so he kind of has to watch that, but nevertheless, he's really locking down some great experience gains for himself.
This is a ton of XP for him. Check out, one thing I want to point out that's interesting is the difference in warding between the two teams. It's interesting that you have Chen, Bane on one side, and that's the side that's aggressively defensively warding. That's how scary EGM and Ake are as a roaming pair. Keeper of the Light is not a roaming killing support. But Ake and EGM are so good at this that Fnatic are still more paranoid of them roaming than Alliance are of the Bane Chen roaming.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really interesting. Of course, we are going to see some early pushing coming out from No Tail, taking up a few hits on the tower, but they should be able to bring this down pretty quickly since they are using the Centaur to pull away the oncoming reinforcements. So Tier 1 should drop in favor of Fnatic here. But nevertheless, they're putting out a lot of wards. They're trying to make sure that they don't have to worry about any kind of roaming ganks. They want to keep the Windrunner relatively safe. Because honestly, although Windrun is great, actually, keep it light down to neutral. I'm not sure what that's about. A little bit too aggressive on his stacking, unless he did that for... we've seen Ake do this. We have seen Ake do this, where he just buys an item, gets rid of all his unreliable gold, and he's like, oh, I'll be back to base in a moment.
It's that. It's absolutely that. And it doesn't give any gold to Fnatic, so it's completely okay. All it does is... I actually don't like that it even shows on the kill graph. I'm not super fond of that.
Sure enough. Yeah, that's really... It doesn't have much place as far as a kill. It doesn't give Fnatic any advantage, so they'll do that. It's uncommon to see Keeper Light do that, because he has such great mana pool, but... Nevertheless, I think it's not going to be that big of a deal, and he's going to stay active with the stacking and pulling to try to go for kind of a supportive jungle. Eric taking a lot of damage, though. Like, holy crap, did he?
Tower damage, yeah. He took a lot of tower damage there. I did want to point out that even though he took a lot of damage, he is way ahead of farm relative to Loda. Admiral Bulldog could be... No, I don't think they have the creeps to do this. Yeah.
Yeah, not
but
yet.
Era, he has 30 last hits to Loda's 21. I really think Loda could be farming a little better. The issue is this lack of lane management. Again, you see all these creeps go beyond the tier 1 tower, right into Trixie's face, and Loda's going to have trouble last hitting when it's, the lane is up here.
Yeah. Interesting to see, Admiral Bulldog is rushing out his Midas, has the Gloves of Haste, and has saved up 900 gold, but we can't say the same for Loda. He's gone for Phase Boots. He wants to be combat ready very early on, so we're going to see a little bit of a delayed Nature's Prophet where his core isn't going to be as rapid, but he'll be able to bounce back quickly. However, the Lifestealer is going to be pretty much very linear. He's going to start out strong, and he's going to kind of stay at that. He's not going to jump forward at any point in time. That kind of gives, in my opinion, the advantage to the Anti-Mage. He has his Perseverance already, just farming away, as you mentioned, and from there, if they can take this Tier 2 tower, that Battle Fury should be only minutes away from there.
Sure. I think it's okay for Nature's Prophet to go Midas here. I'm actually recorded as a Nature's Prophet Midas hater, but I actually think it's good here, and I'll say why. I actually think that, because we talked earlier about the fact that they may go with that right-click Nature's Prophet, right-click Nature's Prophet wants to start with Midas versus Teamfight Nature's Prophet, who starts with something like Mechanism. The Anti-Mage isn't going to be pressing the issue that early, and in fact, the Anti-Mage pick moved Fnatic away from the we're going to push down all your towers by 15 minutes approach. So for Bulldog to sort of delay his ascendancy until 20 minutes in is A, okay. B means that he will be going with S4.
Going on Trixie, he's going to pop his ulti though, never mind. They do hop up the open wounds, but a big entangle coming after Trixie. Loda taking a lot of hits. They are getting a TP from the Bane, but they're not going to be able to return. He's just a little too quick on his feet from the phase.
Those quick phase is great for that. You can just get away from almost anything.
Yeah, but it still lacks the sustainability. He only has rank 1 feast. Yeah. It's not like he can move on to the jungle here.
Sure, you're totally right. The only other thing with Bulldog going the fast Midas is when they start split pushing and counter pushing, they're going to want that Nature's Prophet to have good damage. So setting the stage for that later is probably smart here, since again, they're not panicking that, oh my god, we need a mechanism fast or we're just going to die.
So, in this circumstance, obviously most of the... Oh, actually,
Oh
big
my God.
and Tangle proc. Loda pops off the Rage. He will get slowed by the Orb of Venom going in with the Battle Cry. Will he be able to get on out? Phase Boots
One
will
more
come
thing.
up in just a moment. He does fog out, and he will actually be able to walk away from this, but still, he was literally like 2 right clicks away, and that could have been very, very painful for a First Blood.
That could have been very painful for me. I was starting to drink tea at that exact moment, and then it went down the wrong pipe for a second.
Those Entangle
'Cause
procs,
Loda with
2
one
tenths,
more
2
Entangle
tenths.
would have died.
Exactly.
And I mean, Trixie, even in the 1 versus 3 lane, you can see that he's confident that he can get this harassment damage in just with the Orb of Venom on the Spirit Bear.
Exactly.
Like, he wants to get those right clicks and steal a kill here and there.
Yeah, I mean, he's not been level 5 for all that long, but he's been finding a couple of different entangles that have set him up for a lot of damage, even finding out Loda here. Really, he needed his Infest. Finally, Loda gets the Infest, going to pop it off on a melee creep here in a moment, and yeah, he will be back up to snuff, but he's been lacking for quite some time. He's pretty much been waiting for his ultimate to provide him the free healing self.
Yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, Era just farms and farms, and he's still doing just substantially better than Loda. Trixie has provided enough opposition in this lane that Loda hasn't been able to find great farm yet. S4 doing very
Going
well.
in on tops of Trixie, just going to be able to bring down the bear here. A couple more right clicks go his way, but actually, the bear walks away. There's the telekinesis. Bit of miscommunication between EGM and Loda. They could have brought it down there, but he didn't want to dive the tower, so...
Nice, really nice battle cry from Trixie. Most people don't really think about the armor benefit of battle cry, but it's a good defensive ability when you don't imagine that you're going to push in the next 30 seconds. That didn't make the difference there, but it easily could have. And Trixie, is he the guy who did the bear self-deny the other day? Because that was insane.
I'm not sure exactly which one that was, but nevertheless...
Trixie's really good at Lone Druid. Like,
yeah.
He's only the second most famous Lone Druid player in this game,
Sure.
but he's really good.
Fair enough. We're going to see Tier 1 drop very quickly. It's going to be the Prophet to take the last hit, which I think is fine for Bulldog. He now has that Midas moving in towards Boots, and yeah, I think he's going to find some other great items to move on forward. If they go for kind of a right-click build on all 3 heroes, I don't think Arrow's really going to stand a chance no matter how big he gets. Yeah, of course, the Butterfly will help once we're talking about like his 3rd or 4th item, but...
4th, because he's going to badly need a BKB sooner or later. Otherwise, he's going to get sheepstick down by the Prophet.
Yeah, but I think that's the only... I mean, Blinding Light... He can Manta out of the Blinding Light, so he really only has to worry about Scythe and the Telekinesis. I honestly
Scythe's
think
a pretty
that
big deal.
Butterfly could provide a lot more potential. It's all about timing, because of course muting
Sure.
the evasion is with the Hex is going to be a really big deal if he has a Butterfly but not a BKB. But also, I mean, if you have a BKB, you're an anti-mage with a BKB, and you're getting Desolator right-click by 3 physical damage dealers.
Sure.
I honestly
No,
think
absolutely.
that both of them have their drawbacks.
Yeah, no, we'll have to see what he ends up going with. And I mean, we'll probably see that, because I don't know, I don't see Alliance really putting so much pressure on Fnatic that they just end up in panic mode. So far, again, this is a team that plays with composure, and they're playing with composure here. Tied on towers, so they actually did get the first tower down in the top here. But of course, Alliance trading off here. This does make it a little less safe for Trixie. You can see that he's sitting quite a bit back. And he actually hasn't gotten as much XP in the last few minutes as he did earlier on, when he was honestly doing just fine. And Alliance, this is an old school no Tide Hunter style jungle clear right here. You saw Ake stack this up, and now you see S4 on the TA, who's an amazing stack jungle camp clearer, take it down.
And it's only a rank 1 Sideblades, but he's using it just perfectly to make sure that cleave is as effective as possible. It takes pretty much no damage at all, and then from there has going for even another camp. There goes the Illuminate. Actually going to steal a little bit from Ake, but either way, we're going to see a big damage coming in for S4, and that ends up being a giant blink very, very early on.
Right, it's a very early blink for TA, which lets them try to misposition Fnatic and start earning that advantage. And, I mean, in terms of last hits, Era has been free farming this lane, and that caught S4 all the way up to Era. That was a lot of farm that went into this TA.
Check these ancient stacks too for Alliance. They've been stacking up like crazy. No Tail just now dropped a Sentry Ward, but they've definitely made their mark on the map there with that many stacks coming on through. That is insane. And as a result, S4 is gonna be the one to watch for these big initiations. I mean, he's walking into food right now. Bane and Chen, they're low armor, relatively speaking, and they definitely are low HP. So unless they have great reactions and great disables to respond, I honestly think that S4 will get to a point where he can like 2 or 3 shot them, and that's going to be very dangerous.
For these engagements, we're going to have to pay attention to Fly's Nightmares. Very good Nightmares are going to be so important for Fnatic. Against TA. Not against Lifestealer, because it can rage, and then after the invulnerability period of the Nightmare ends, he can just keep hitting you. But against TA, a critical Nightmare can mean the difference between life and death. It does give you those invulnerability frames, So if you do it as you're about to be melded, you can actually shuck the entire meld off.
So that could be very, very powerful in how much they can output and how much they can delay things. It's really timing is hard for a bunch of different interactions. We were talking about the Scythe against the Anti-Mage. That's if Admiral Bulldog even rushes that kind of an item. I mean, there's so many different other core items Profit players love to pick up, kind of intermediary. Of course, he will inevitably go for the Scythe if the game goes late, but right now he might have his eyes on other things, and the longer that he puts between that item choice and a different one, it could be an opportunity for Era to really bounce back. S4 is actually going back and forth with Era. He has so much damage coming out through. That's what I'm talking about. Jumps in, Blink to follow up. Can they get the Sprout? They get the trap. No Sprout from Bulldog. Knows it won't be effective. Wants to go for the Wrath of Nature, but just not getting it at the right time. S4 still forcing him off the lane. Era, every second he's not farming with that Battle Fury, is a lot of money down the drain.
Absolutely. I do like Era very smart to go the 4 in Blink. Like he's Blink 4, one of each other, and stats. And that's the exact correct. Any other build would have actually led to him dying there.
Yeah, standard burning build. When you go get the Battle Fury up, you want to have that Blink maxed out for maximum farm potential. And they're going to clear down this creep wave really quickly. They pop off the double damage rune. It looks like they want to go for the tier 1 tower. Do you think Fnatic really has enough to dissuade them from bringing this down?
They shouldn't. They're going to let them take it. TA with DD, especially a TA that's doing well on levels relative to the field, and he's tied for the highest level, you can't actually contest that TA. You run the risk of just getting everybody wiped.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Fnatic has taken some big Ancients, stacked up a ton for themselves, Era cleaving away while Trixie tanks it up, so they might be losing this tier 1, but they certainly are getting their own source of income. We are seeing it drop down close to deny range, and as you said, they don't seem to have too much going for them, but right now they might try to go with these creeps. On top of the TA trap, though, there is too much vision. Hani in a bad spot right here. Doesn't get the wind run out. Instead, the right clicks are too quick. EGM with that lift. Bringing him down quickly. And I think they want to go for tier 2. They have the Drum, Aura. They have Bulldog's Trance. And they're going to be going on in.
Here now. Yeah. So yeah, no, I think they can get it. Hani isn't going to... He doesn't even have buyback, even if he wanted to. I think Fnatic have to give up this tower, too.
Yeah, it sucks.
Alliance really finding the timing. Patient to a point. And then the patience runs out, and they're like, well, we got the DD rune, we can push through. If we find a kill, we can push through for 2. So only 1 kill on the board there for them, but it ends up being 2 towers and the kill. That's a almost like a 2k gold swing, maybe a 2.5k.
Extremely, extremely powerful, and a lot of that I think has to do with the fact that Bane isn't even level 6. Fly is sitting on just over 5.5. So in that sense, without a Fiend's Grip and with Windrunner having been dropped down so swiftly, there's very little you can do to respond to that. I already talked about the Keeper Light providing the most counter push and the Nature's Prophet adding in some as well. But really, what do you have for counter push? You have a Wild Wing Tornado, a Satyr Shockwave, a Power Shot from the Windrunner. You don't have really that much to work with, and so... from there, Alliance is going to be able to take those opportunities when they find them. Of course, Era is getting more and more farmed. Treads and Battle Fury up. They have to look to keep control over Roche. I'm not sure if they can do it. They're certainly going to try here. But well, the question is how quickly, because of course Alliance will know something's up pretty soon. Right now, they don't have any wards in that position. But that's something that they have to keep tabs on 100%. And it looks like they've got it covered.
Yeah, I mean, Medallion would make it go quicker, but I actually don't think it's any issue. The bear is high; they're high level enough that it won't take them that long to do it. Like their XP has been.
Oh, that sucks. That's at least I guess 2 TB scrolls. I mean they have to get out of there somehow.
Oh, man.
Oh, 4 staff is up for Hani. Sweet. Okay, they do have 4 staff to clear the trees, and they're both gonna get out of there. But it was a cute little blinding light, nevertheless.
That was a sick blinding light. The positioning was perfect. If they had somebody to take advantage of that, Fnatic actually wouldn't have been able to like last hit Roshan down just because the miss chance.
Now going on towards the top lane, they recall in Loda. He initiates with the open wounds. They steal away a spell from Hani, but he's going to be pulled right back on into it. S4 delivering a lot of damage. They get the shackle on EGM, but it's not going to change anything here. Trixie blocking out with the bear, but unfortunately he has no TP. Like, he can block all he wants, but he has to Quelling Blade himself out. Lock down this, but here come the power shots in. They get the vision, and they should be able to, bring him down. Here's S4's blink, and Trixie locked in place. That is going to be another kill. They've already taken down the Windrunner, the solo mid twice, and now we're taking down the offlaner once again. They have such a great advantage, especially since they followed up with tower kills. Era is doing some damage to the bottom tower, but not even chipping away half its HP before Alliance is able to claim another.
That TP in was a little questionable from Trixie and Hani, I have to say. Trixie had no escape once he got in. I wonder if that was the result of at least a minor miscommunication from Fnatic, because it wasn't worth bringing only 2 people over when they actually have a ward. They saw Alliance rotating in, so I'm not sure. It was kind of a fated death. Keep in mind, Tawny is only level 9, so he only has this rank 1 of Windrun. The 2.75 duration, basically, Rubik can just wait you out and immediately lift you up once you cast it, and then it's over, basically.
Sure.
If you had the full duration Windrun for the 5 seconds, then you, even after the telekinesis, you're still somewhat okay. But in this case, he just immediately gets dropped down in Alliance. They really seek to take control over this Fnatic jungle. And considering Fnatic have these dual cores, if they can't be safe in their jungle, they don't have enough farming.
I heard an infest. EGM was in a good position to actually go for a lift, but instead we're actually just going to see initiation onto Trixie here. Does get entangled through, but still taking a ton of damage. Cannot break out of the trees just yet. Loaded does get nightmared up, so it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to get on out because there is going to be the Test of Faith pulling him back on in. Hani trying to get out with that, but obviously Windrun not doing enough. Hani going to get right-click down here, and that is yet another pick-off. Of course, it is a lot better than it could have been. They did good maneuvers to get Trixie out of a really bad spot, but they just don't have control of this jungle. They've moved on in. They've pretty much just set up shop and said, we're not leaving. We're going to squat this territory because they have a ward in the eastern area. They have great vision of anybody farming the eastern camps, and with the tier 1 down up top, they just have full control.
Oh no, they're recalling. Aki is going to recall Loda onto him, and they're going to pincer Fnatic
Oh,
again.
This is bad. Fly needs to cast some big spells right here. He goes in for the Brain Sap, is going to be able to dish out to Admiral Bulldog, who has that Shadow Blade, but the burst comes out. Look at Fly drop. No chance at all using his Fiend's Grip. Instead, Trixie's going to try to TP out, but to no avail either. Both of them fall, and that is just painful to watch. 6-1 in favor of Alliance, and it's only going to get worse. Their physical damage is going to keep on racking up. The armlet up on the Lifestealer. Desolator should come on through for Templar Assassin in no time at all. And from there, I really don't feel that they can do too much. Honestly, even Era doesn't have nearly enough farm compared to what he needs to be looking at.
He's farmed very well. Keep in mind, this is an anti-mage that's subsisting only on creeps. They've only put 1 kill on the board, and he wasn't involved in it. He has very good last hits for this position in the game. He has very good gold per minute. It's actually the highest. He's rounding in on 500. But the problem is, anti-mage at 18 minutes, even the best anti-mage possible, is not going to be that relevant. Like, maybe a big Mana Void on Nature's Prophet could do something, but it's not like they have an RP to make that Mana Void an effective AoE. Fnatic, they're just not there with their cores yet, either. I mean, talking
Initiation on mid, actually, there's the Fiend's Grip out on S4, but it's not going to do too much. He has the DD, he has his Refraction jumping on in. Hani going to be able to Windrun 4-staff away, but there's the Infest to finish off 2 heroes really quickly, and there's the third. They drop down the Chen, they drop down the Bane, they drop down the Windrunner, and they can take the Rax right here, I believe.
Yeah.
The Fiend's Grip's on cooldown, the Hand of God as well.
At least can give a shot at it, because Trixie, this bear still doesn't have armlet. Like, this is a nothing bear. He's dying.
Yeah, holy crap, that Meld Strike, so much damage from S4. Just obliterating it. The fortification already forced. And Era just can't retaliate right now.
On S4 as well. They can't fight here because if Era comes in, S4 will kill him.
Well, it just expired, but never. Yeah, it's still the Desolator. This damage comes out. Era, as strong as he was in farming, look at the damage. 1 telekinesis, and he is out of here. They get that, and they drop him down. Now looking for more, finishing off the racks. Era will be able to get out after his Aegis pops off, but they're just going to be happy to take the melee racks and walk away. And this advantage is just so immense right here. We're going to see a Basher out on Lifestealer, and from there, they have all the lockdown they need to take any fight at any position on the map.
Yep. Alliance have just kind of outplayed Fnatic in a strategic fashion. So I was talking about how individually their players are incredibly talented and can make big plays, but it's been less about the big plays and more about the overall strategic thinking. I think in the last couple of weeks or so, Alliance have just really grown into this team that has a fantastic strategic element in addition to having the best players. And so you can just see how carefully they brought the tower down, and moments before Fnatic would have come in and taken advantage, they're out. They feel untouchable. Like, it feels like Fnatic can't even get close to them to do anything.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous how much control they have in this position here. The Basher's out. They had Antimage's Blink on Rubik for a while, so he can initiate from any length that he prefers. And really, they just can do anything they want. Even like Trixie out here, like he's not even like 5 feet away from his base, but just moving it out just even slightly, they're going to be able to get the saves off, even getting the Sprout on Fly, so he's going to fall as well. Medallion, Desolator strikes. Era does come on in for a return kill, but that's all he was going to be able to claim in this one. Literally just jumping in suicidally before they call the GG. Wow.
I feel like if I had to apportion, if I'm Fnatic, I sort of have to think about what we have Trixie doing, because in that game, he had a decent laning phase, all things considered, but this Lone Druid was basically a liability. By the way, the only bear on the field now is EGM's bear. I always like seeing this. EGM stole the summon bear ability. I really feel like Trixie was almost a liability as that game went on. He ends up 0-3-0. Even times when he didn't die, he was so out of position in some areas that he's caused the start of unfavorable engagements for Fnatic, because Alliance would just jump in, cause Fnatic to have to commit stuff to defending Trixie, when Trixie, like, he didn't even have any development. He ends the game with no armlet on the bear. Yeah. Like, this Lone Druid just, I don't know. I feel, and keep in mind, Blaze, they first picked this.
Yeah.
First pick is the most expensive pick.
Yeah.
And what did they get from it?
Not much. I mean, he did great in experience. He did hit to level 10. It's not like he was shut down prior to level 5. He wasn't able to get entangles out. It's just after that, where was the support? Fly and No-Tail, roaming around their jungle, sometimes hitting up the mid, but they didn't have a chance to move on down to the bottom lane. It's really hard to move those neutrals on down because, of course, they can't TP scroll. So from there, their transition was slow, and although they built up great items like mechanisms, the other lanes were just running rampant, and they got so much farm so very, very quickly that there really wasn't an answer back. I think most of the players made individually the right decisions, but as a whole, they lacked team fight, and honestly, Alliance just exploited that over and over and over again. So they got control, and they didn't let go.
I feel like Fnatic, I talk about these deny picks when people pick something so the other team can't have it. I feel like the Lone Druid was more of a deny pick than a good pick for Fnatic, because they didn't end up going with a pushing lineup. So this pushing Lone Druid didn't push. And meanwhile, Alliance scored the Lifestealer that Fnatic's very good with. And Lifestealer is very strong against Lone Druid, too. The bear can't get away. Like, he can eat it in the lane for health. And later on, Trixie had no way of getting away at all between Sprout, Templar Assassin being on him with that quick Blink Dagger, and just Lifestealer open wounds. Like, Trixie just, I don't know. It was a tough situation for Fnatic. I think they have to be a little more careful about their game plan for Game 2.
Exactly. So, speaking of, we'll be going on into Game 2 in just a minute here. This is, of course, a best-of-3 series, but Alliance taking an amazing 21-minute win with 12-2, just taking away all the towers without losing but maybe one. I don't even know. It's just like the amount of momentum they generated was insane. But
they lost bottom, too, because Arrow single-handedly pushed up.
So, Game 2 coming on up, but just to let you guys know in the stream, if you guys are having issues, we are using a high-capacity server, but if there is any issue, it's not on our end, just click the wrench in the bottom right corner of the live stream, and that'll let them know. You can report that they need to make sure that's working on their end as well. Either way, we'll be moving on to Game 2, hopefully with no lag issues whatsoever, but anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and this has been Blaze and Vikramon going on into Game 2 in just a minute.